Hey, welcome to the Gentleman Grachowski Show, Chicago's favorite comedy variety television show spotlighting local talents and rising stars. We got a great show for you today. We've got a Twitch streamer coming up. He has plays video games and everyone loves it. They watch it. And our first guest here today is Noah Diamond. He's a writer performer in New York City. He's currently working on a Greek tragedy called Quarantigone, which is a virtual production of the coronavirus era. He's also has Home Again, the Marx Brothers, and New York City, and he's working on a live streaming event for the 130th anniversary for Groucho Marx. It's his birthday party. I wonder how Groucho would feel about being 130 years old. Noah Diamond, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Hi, Larry. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You're coming from New York City. How's it out there?
It's hot and it's still mostly in quarantine, but it's the town so nice they named it twice.
There you go. Now, speaking of quarantine, Quarantigone, that is a virtual production you're putting together. Can you tell us about that? Because that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, Quarantigone. Well, it's a product of this time that we're all living in, largely a tragic time. But one of the silver linings of this period has been this wonderful kind of virtual arts community that's sprung up. All of my friends in the theater who aren't able to put on shows have been doing live streaming content of one kind or another. And, it's not the same as live theater, but a lot of it has been really very beautiful. And there's something nice about the idea that art finds a way, If you hand an artist a piece of clay, he'll give you something. So this lockdown quarantine period, that's the block of clay that we've all been handed. And we're doing our best to make something out of it. So this is an idea that Amanda Sisk, who's my wife and also my creative partner, we were trying to figure out, what are we going to do? What's our streaming play going to be? And most of the plays that we've written or that we have in mind are big musicals that you really couldn't tackle via Zoom. So we thought, well, maybe we should write something new. And since there's not much time to develop something, maybe we should adapt something that already exists, and that got us thinking about classical theater. Maybe we should do a modern spin on Shakespeare, or maybe something even earlier than that. And we're trying to think of something that would be thematically appropriate for the age of COVID, maybe the Decameron, something dealing with a plague. And Amanda suggested, what about Antigone? And so that was it. Okay, yeah, why not Antigone? Because if we had chosen a plague-based drama, it might have been too on the nose. And time and again, you learn that if you just tell a good story, it'll have relevance. You don't have to reach for relevance. So we spent a little time working with various translations of Antigone, which is the third surviving Oedipus play by Sophocles, third in the chronological trilogy, concerns the daughter of Oedipus trying to properly bury her fallen brother in defiance of the rather fascistic ruler of Thebes, Creon. We wrote this thing and adapted it from Antigone. Like everything we write, it's kind of funny. It's a little bit like as though the writer's room at your show of shows had tackled Antigone. And it's full of anachronisms and humor, but it also taps into some of the actual themes of the work, which are quite serious. And we assembled a cast. We've been filming scenes via Zoom, and we're putting it all together. And Amanda Sisk's inspired notion was to call it Quarantigone, because it's Antigone in quarantine. So we're in the editing stages with that. We've got all of our footage captured, and the cast and the Greek chorus are all in the memory of my computer here. And we're putting it together to be available in September.
It's a socially distanced parody. That sounds
Yeah.
something that I think maybe in a year from now we'll laugh about this time. But right now, as we're going through it, it's always like, what else is going to happen? Because we are definitely going through times that I think people don't realize that we probably definitely not in our lifetime have we been through things like this. But
Yeah.
we've never been through this as a society that, at least that we know of, right?
That's absolutely right. This is history, for better and for worse. We're living through big times right now. And yeah, that's another reason to try to market creatively somehow, to comment on it in some way. And in a authentic production of an ancient Greek drama, the chorus would be wearing masks and probably cowls or hoods or robes anyway. So for our quarantine Greek tragedy, the chorus is wearing face masks like the ones we're all wearing these days in public, and hoodies because we're all sitting around the house in sweatsuits lately.
Yeah, you got to able to adapt to modern day, and that's what's the genius of the creativity of it all is that you know what you didn't just take something that was going on, you made it your own.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's what art does, isn't it? It's like remixing. You take a classic, and you make it yours. Part of the power of these stories is that they've been told for thousands of years, so they have something going for them. And taking something like that and reflecting it back in your own voice is a very worthwhile exercise, and hopefully the results will be entertaining.
Now, how do you feel about virtual theater going on now? You said everyone's trying to adapt and art is just trying to adapt. How do you personally feel about it? Do you think it'll stick around after the pandemic, or do you think this is just something new that we're going to be having? As far as the art part of it all, the virtual theater part of it all.
That's a very good question. I suspect that, as with other aspects of the quarantine experience, it will continue a little bit. Like I'll bet in the future going forward, more people will work from home because during this period, we've learned that more people can. So, yes, I expect there will be some lingering sense that one way to put a play on, or one way to maybe develop a play, is virtually. You don't have to pay for rehearsal space. You don't have to deal with people's logistics. There's something to be said for it. On the other hand, the thing that makes the theater special is the one thing that's not available via Zoom. The theater is what it is because it's a group of people getting together in one room to watch a group of artists tell a story together in real time. And so, I don't think it'll ever replace theater because it's really not theater. But I think, yes, it will have perhaps a supplementary role going forward. And for the time being, I'm just happy that there's a way to communicate with your audience.
Because I'm thinking people still as a culture, we still like to go out and you know what, the theater you get dressed up for, you go for dinner afterwards or beforewards. It's a whole event. I think that's one thing that they probably will never take away because people, have been going to movies and it's part of an event you're going to. I think the virtual theater is nice and is good right now. I still think it might stick around, but maybe it'll morph into something different in the future. What do you think of
Yeah,
something
I
like?
think you're right.
Because
I
with
think that's exactly right.
yeah, going to a theater, you know what? There's also that you never know, something can go wrong, and people go to theaters just to see something that happen, that is not planned, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the great things about the theater, in contrast with television or movies. Watch a movie, you could watch it every day. It's always exactly the same. No matter how good it is, those performances are not going to change. But you go to the theater, yes, that's part of what makes the theater so exciting. And it's one of the reasons I don't think virtual theater will replace live theater. But I
Right.
think you're exactly right. It will continue to play some role, and probably a larger role than it had prior to the pandemic.
Now, what was the hardest thing about putting the quarantine production together? You you got to look at some things from the past and some things that are going on present and kind of tie them all together. But was there something else that was really difficult that you maybe had a hard time to overcome?
I think the hardest part is the part that we're involved in right now, which is the edit. I mean, in many ways, it's more like a film than theater because all of the material has been captured. It's not live streaming. Quarantigony will be edited and then streamed. So it's the edit. This has a very large cast. It has a Greek chorus, which, as in all Greek drama, is pretty much the main character or the largest character. And our chorus, it's people who put themselves on video from all over the country. And, it's a lot. There's dozens of these videos of chorus members saying their lines, and we have to sync it all up so that they speak in unison. And the effect is great. I think it's really entertaining, and often it's very funny. But it is the jigsaw puzzle of putting it all together. That is quite a job, and that's what we're up to our ears in right now.
Now, how are people going to be able to watch this?
It'll be streaming on YouTube, and it'll live on YouTube forevermore. It'll be free. It's no admission. It's just a gift for anyone who's interested in it, and we'll make lots of noise about it on social media and on my website when it's available, which will be sometime next month in September.
All right.
But it'll be readily available and free for all.
And who doesn't love a Greek tragedy where they can get it, huh? Better a Greek tragedy than an American tragedy, right?
Yeah, that's right. We've had enough American tragedies for the time being. But I should emphasize, although it is a Greek tragedy and it does follow the storyline of the original Antigone, this is really a comedy. And in fact, we've been billing it as a hilarious Greek tragedy. So it has a tragic story, but we have filled it with laughs, so it's mostly entertaining.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing it. We're sitting here with Noah Diamond, the writer of the up-and-coming Core Antigone. We'll find out more information about the Marx Brothers, what's coming up after this. We'll take a quick break. This is the Gentleman Grachowski Show. Hey, welcome back to the Gentleman Grachowski Show. We're sitting here with writer and performer and from New York City, Noah Diamond. Noah Diamond, you are a big Marx Brothers fan. Can you tell us what you like about the Marx Brothers?
Boy, that's a great question. I wish I had a great answer. What do I like about the Marx Brothers? They're my favorite artists. They're the artists who, over the course of my lifetime, have meant the most to me. A lot of my work as a writer and as a performer has been one way or another influenced by or directly paying tribute to them. I think they are simply great artists. And, why are they great? It's similar to why are Shakespeare and Mozart great? If you put on one of their films, one of their best films, I think it's impossible not to see that they are something really special, that they can... They communicate more pure joy for me than just about any other culture figures.
Now, you wrote tell us about your things you put on paper with the Marx Brothers and Groucho Marx. So you did quite a few things with them, right?
Yeah, there have been a lot of Marx Brothers projects over the years, and Groucho projects. The biggest and most prominent of them is my revival of I'll Say She Is, which was their first Broadway musical. It was on Broadway in 1924. But it sort of faded from existence after it closed. They did 2 more Broadway shows, which were made into films, Coconuts and Animal Crackers. But I'll Say She Is was lost to history, and I spent many years researching it and putting it back together, restoring it. And it was revived off-Broadway in 2016 and a couple of years before that at the New York Fringe Festival. So I adapted and expanded the book and lyrics, and I played Groucho in that production. And then I followed that up with a book called Gimme a Thrill. I happen to have it right here. And this is my book about the history of that show, of I'll Say She Is, the story of the original Marx Brothers production, and then of how my friends and I put it back on stage.
Let's see that book again.
Sure. This is Gimme a Thrill, the story of I'll Say She Is, the lost Marx Brothers musical, and how it was found. And this is current through the Fringe production.
And how it was found that's the part that it kind of intrigues me, because I personally never heard of that. But you said they turned other musicals into movies, but for some reason they didn't mess with that one. Why do you think that was?
Well, that was I'll Say She Is was kind of their arrival. I mean, they had been vaudevillians for about 20 years, and they'd been big vaudeville stars for several years. But I'll Say She Is was their arrival on Broadway. That was the beginning of the Marx Brothers being accepted by the New York critics. It was sort of the beginning of them as a phenomenon. And it led to these other two shows, Coconuts and Animal Crackers, which which had a much more evolved pedigree. They were written by George S. Kaufman and Irving Berlin and other bright lights. And it wasn't really possible to make a talking picture until 1929. So by the time that became possible, they had these two more prestigious vehicles to adapt. And I'll Say She Is just kind of fell through the cracks. But it needn't have. It's just that there was already more material in the pipeline by the time it was possible to make a movie.
I get you. That makes sense then, because there were just better things out there, but they just kept moving forward instead of going back at that time. You have a podcast with a Marx Brothers podcast you do once a month, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Marx Brothers Council podcast, which is a monthly show. My co-hosts are Matthew Coniam and Bob Gassell, very accomplished Marxians in their own right. And it's terrific. We're just about to record episode 27 this month. And yes, if you're interested in the Marx Brothers or in vintage entertainment at all, I think you will enjoy this podcast. It's a kind of companion to the Marx Brothers Council itself, which is a Facebook group that Matthew Coniam started and administers. And that too, I highly recommend. If you're a Marx Brothers fan and a Facebook user, join the Marx Brothers Council. Lots of great and intelligent and sometimes revelatory discussions with Marx Brothers fans and experts. Even members of the Marx family are in the council. And so the podcast grew out of that.
And you've also lectured about the Marx Brothers and New York City, right?
Yeah, those are two of my great topics. I used to work as a New York City tour guide, and one of my other books and one of my other shows is about the history of the city. So combining the two makes sense. I've done Marx Brothers walking tours of Manhattan. And on October 2nd, as you mentioned, I'm doing this event, which is called Home Again, the Marx Brothers in New York City. That'll be a live streaming event focusing on the Marx Brothers and their relationship with this town. That's the event that we're doing on Groucho's 130th birthday.
How do you think Groucho would feel being 130 years old?
That's a great question. He once said, if you keep having birthdays, you will eventually die. So it would have proven he would have been wrong about that if he were still around at 130.
I gotcha. All right, Noah, thanks for stopping by. There's noahdiamond.com if you want to find out some more information about some of the things Noah's involved in, noahdiamond.com. Good luck on the birthday party. Hopefully the cake is big enough for everybody, and I'm definitely going to be checking that out. I think you said it's a Friday night, so that's cool. I'll get some popcorn ready, maybe some animal crackers. I'll eat some animal crackers while
I'm animal crackers, yeah. Maybe a coconut or two.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Noah, thanks for stopping by. This is the Gentleman Grachowski Show. We'll be back with some more after this. Don't go away. Hey, welcome back to the Gentleman Grachowski Show. We're sitting here with Matt Gemolo, and Matt Gemolo is a Switch streamer and aspiring esports professional. He has a bachelor in professional sports management as a master's degree as well. And he has subscribers who watch him play online video games at least 3 times a week. He goes by the name Gemelo Monk on his Twitch channel. Let's welcome Gemelo Monk himself. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on here, Larry.
Oh, well, thank you for stopping by. I know you're busy and you got a lot going on here. But can you let's speak to us like we don't know what we're talking about. Tell us about what Twitch streaming is all about and what what is that? Because that's something I just recently found out about. And what is a Twitch streamer?
Yeah, a Twitch streamer is essentially just an entertainer who uses the medium of video games, plays over it, kind of has conversation, interacting with a live chat, and just does it to be a way for people to connect in a different way. I myself, I play funny games. I play scary games, which generally seem to be the most popular because people want to watch me freak out and cry. But it's a lot of fun, and I've got to meet a lot of really interesting people that way.
So as I'm watching, I was watching some of your shows. I guess would you call them a show, production? Your games?
Yeah, you just say live stream.
Live stream. You guys are joking around, and then there's like drum rolls being played, and you guys have like you guys are telling jokes back and forth. Is that what people are really liking about this this Twitch streaming?
Yeah, I'd say the big thing about it is it's just you get to connect with people. When I first moved up to Michigan, I didn't have a lot of friends where I was at. And so I got into starting to watch streams and watch a lot of like gameplay videos on YouTube because I didn't want my house to be so quiet. And I found a lot of people enjoy just having that. A lot of the people that come and watch my streams are friends of mine that we've kind of lost connection or moved away from each other. Others are people that have just seemed to like the content that I put out and want to just continue coming back and hanging out. And just having essentially a group of people to just mess around and have fun, kind of like the old days of being a kid playing games on your couch.
And for someone like me, what do viewers what do viewers get out of watching someone play a video game? You know?
Yeah.
I don't really enjoy watching. I don't enjoy, people. You watch sports on television, right? You got a bowler bowling, and you got people playing badminton, volleyball. Some of those things. People could relate to because they've played the sport. They've been part of it. What for people that don't really play video games? What do they get out of watching someone else play a video game?
Definitely. The biggest thing is many video games have just really good stories, and video games cost money. And sometimes you can't afford to buy the video game, but you can watch someone else play it for free. So that allows you to almost feel like you've been able to play the game. But also when you watch like my Twitch channel, you get points. I've named them after my dog Rupp that you can redeem to make me do a variety of things, from drink more water to doing push-ups, squats, playing songs on my ukulele or guitar back there. And you can make it more interactive in that moment. And the chat often talks amongst themselves too. And so it's a fun way just to spend an evening if you were just going to stay indoors anyway.
It said, I found out that the top YouTube top 10 YouTube channels are gamers.
Yeah. The top YouTube channel for the longest time was a guy named PewDiePie. He had I'm going to be wrong on this one, but the last I checked, over 67 million subscribers, which is just absurd to think about. I think he actually, at this point, I think pretty confident he's over 100 million at this point, which is just insane to think about.
And people are making money off of playing video games. Can you tell us about that and how that came about?
Yeah. So when you are watching a Twitch stream, you have a couple options. You can subscribe, which people have done. Amazon now owns Twitch. And so they've given people, if you have Amazon Prime, you can use a free Twitch Prime subscription to help support the channel. It costs about $5 to do if you're paying for it on your own. Or you can use what are called bits, which you can buy, again, directly from Twitch. You can give those to your streamer of choice, and that helps to support them. Many streamers have Patreon accounts or like PayPal links where you can just donate any money that you feel so inclined. A Twitch streamer that does this full time, and again, this is obviously not every Twitch streamer, but a good Twitch streamer can make $3,500 a month doing this, which asked me that a couple months ago, still insane. Asked me that today, still insane to think about. But it's just really cool to see that people have been able to use those skills that in many cases we didn't think would actually come as when we were children, And
I'm sure that's where personality also comes into it, right?
Yeah, I am not the best at video games. I actively say I'm bad at video games, but I bring a fun personality to it. And that's why I think most of my people come by. I'm authentic as much as I can be. I laugh a lot, and I think people just genuinely enjoy being around that.
Can you tell us about your top moment from streaming?
Yeah, so there was a streamer, he goes by the name Jukies. He is the #1 Call of Duty Warzone streamer. He's won multiple tournaments, and routinely this man is pulling in over 1,000 live viewers. And one day, I guess he was bored and just kind of scrolled through the Twitch channels that were live. I was playing the game, and he hosted my channel, which basically means all of his viewers became my viewers. And so I was sitting there with my 8 people watching, just having a conversation. And I looked over and I was like, why does it say there's 1,000 people in chat right now? That doesn't make sense. And the chat just filled up with people just subscribing, following, and just talking a ton and being super excited and super hyped. And it was one of the coolest moments, for sure. And the guy was just chatting with me for a little bit before he went off to bed. And then I just had, a couple of viewers dropped off after that. But for the rest of the night, I was sitting over 600 viewers for about 2 more hours, which was awesome.
Wow. And can you tell us about your Twitch channel?
Yeah. So my Twitch channel, I started it back in 2018, but I really started doing it once the pandemic hit, because I was quarantined for several months. And so back in May, I started doing it about 3 days a week, just wanting to provide a great time. Like I said, Mondays, I play scary games, which I absolutely hate, and I cry and scream every time. Yes, like that. It's the worst. But then Tuesday and Thursday, I will either be playing just like a more popular game, or I'll be doing kind of group streams with my friends, just whatever I kind of feel like playing, if I'm being honest, or whatever the chat wants to play. One of the things that chat can do is if they get enough of those points, they can pick the game that I play that week. And that gives them more of an incentive just to keep watching and hanging out with me.
All right, we're sitting here with Jamello Monk from twitch.tv/Jamello Monk. He's a professional Twitch streamer. And thanks for stopping by and taking some moments to talk with us. This is the Gentleman Grachowski Show. We'll be back next week. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'd like to thank Matt for stopping by, along with Noah Diamond. This is the Gentleman Grachowski Show. TVHams.com is the official website. Thanks for stopping by.